Remember those quiet English villages in Midsomer Murders? The show gave us charm, chaos, and characters we'll never forget. But 28 years later, life had its own mysteries for the cast. Some faced heartbreak, others vanished from the spotlight, and a few turned tragedy into strength. What really happened to them will leave you stunned. Barry Jackson as Dr. George Bullard. Barry Jackson brought life and a touch of wit to Midsomer Murders as Dr. George Bullard, the trusted pathologist and quiet anchor of the series. Always composed amid chaos, Bullard's calm intelligence balanced Barnaby's intensity and offered rare warmth in a world of mystery and death. Barry's acting experiences came from a childhood shaped by struggle. Born in Birmingham in 1938, he grew up during post-war scarcity. His parents, both factory workers, taught him endurance before ambition. That early lesson became the backbone of his career. When others gave up, he kept going. After training at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, he faced years of small theater gigs and uncertain paychecks. The rejection was endless, but Barry had patience on his side. That patience became his trademark, later drawing directors like Stanley Kubrick to his door. It was no surprise he thrived in long-running British dramas such as Doctor Who, Z-Cars, and Lovejoy. Barry Jackson played Dr. George Bullard in Midsomer Murders, 1997, when he was 59 years old, appearing in 76 episodes. He passed away from cancer on December 5, 2013, aged 75. At the time of his death, his net worth was around $2 million, the sum of a life built on quiet mastery, compassion, and dignity that outlasted the fame he never chased. Rosalie Crutchley as Lucy Bellringer. When Rosalie Crutchley stepped into Midsomer Murders as Lucy Bellringer, she didn't just play a role, she stole the scene. Sharp-witted, elegant, and completely fearless, Lucy was the kind of woman who could stare down a killer and make him confess with a single look. She made it unforgettable. Rosalie's real story, though, was far more dramatic than anything on screen. Her family belonged to a shrinking middle class, surviving the Great Depression by cutting every corner they could. She once said her childhood smelled of coal and cold soup. While other girls played, she practiced, learning piano, voice, and diction at the Royal Academy of Music. So she chose acting was an escape. She faced rejection after rejection. Directors told her she wasn't soft enough, not beautiful in the right way. They called her eyes too dark, her voice too sharp. Those words hurt deeply, but she turned them into armor. Instead of fading, she chose to dominate. In The Haunting, Quo Vadis, and The Six Wives of Henry VIII, she gave audiences women who had been silenced, broken, or betrayed, and made them unforgettable. But years of relentless work took their toll. The long nights on stage, the London smog, the isolation, all of it slowly eroded her health. By the mid-1990s, she was frail, but refused pity. When Midsomer Murders offered her the role of Lucy Bellringer, she said yes instantly. That episode became her final gift, a farewell that most didn't realize was won. Rosalie Crutchley played Lucy Bellringer in Midsomer Murders, 1997, at 77 years old. Just months later, she passed away on July 28, 1997, from chronic respiratory illness. Her net worth was about $1.5 million. Elizabeth Spriggs as Iris Rainbird. Elizabeth Spriggs brought life to Iris Rainbird, a sharp, gossip-loving, and manipulative woman whose secrets fueled the heart of the killings at Badger's Drift, 1997. Her performance turned a side character into a force of nature. Beneath the humor and mischief, Spriggs gave Iris something rare. Elizabeth's childhood in Buxton, Derbyshire, was far from kind. Born in 1929, she grew up during wartime scarcity and described her upbringing as entirely without affection. The coldness at home left a mark that never faded. Music became her only escape, and her mezzo-soprano voice carried her into the Royal College of Music. At 21, she made an agonizing choice: to leave her husband and young daughter to pursue acting. She later called it the most painful decision of my life. The guilt haunted her, but the stage became her salvation. She started at the bottom, performing in tiny repertory theaters, often exhausted and broke. Her persistence turned her into one of Britain's most respected actresses. She earned an Olivier Award, a BAFTA nomination for Sense and Sensibility, and a place in cinema history with roles in Harry Potter and countless BBC dramas. But even in success, she never escaped that early loneliness. Elizabeth Spriggs played Iris Rainbird in Midsomer Murders, 1997, when she was 68 years old. She died of heart failure on July 2, 2008, at 78. Her net worth was estimated at $2 million. Nigel Davenport as William Smithers. Nigel Davenport embodied William Smithers, a powerful, secretive man whose presence added weight and tension to Midsomer Murders, 2000. With his commanding voice and quiet menace, Davenport turned authority into art. Nigel's story began in 1928 in Great Shelford, Cambridgeshire. He was born into an academic family, surrounded by intellect and tradition. His father was a respected Cambridge professor. For his father, acting was rebellion. When Nigel chose the stage over scholarship, he disappointed his family and walked away from the comfort of privilege. On stage, he found freedom, and on film, he found recognition. His rugged features and steady voice made him unforgettable in A Man for All Seasons, Mary, Queen of Scots, and Chariots of Fire. But the years of pressure and constant travel took a quiet toll. In his later years, respiratory illness made speaking painful. Still, he kept his dignity, appearing at events and interviews with the same poise that had defined him for decades. Even in weakness, Nigel Davenport never allowed pity. Nigel Davenport played William Smithers in Midsomer Murders, 2000, when he was 72 years old. He passed away on October 25, 2013, from pneumonia at 85. His net worth was around $3 million. Robert Hardy as Robert Cavendish. Robert Hardy gave power a human face when he played Robert Cavendish, a proud, aristocratic man who carried authority like a weapon. His performance was commanding, elegant, and laced with quiet menace in Midsomer Murders. He didn't just act the part of an English nobleman, he lived it, with all the grace and pressure that life demanded of him. Hardy was born in 1925 in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. His father, a strict headmaster, expected nothing less than perfection. Love was rare in that house, but discipline was constant. From a young age, Robert learned to stand straight, speak clearly, and never show weakness. When World War II came, he joined the Royal Air Force and trained as a pilot. The war left scars that words could never describe. He saw too much, too young. After the war, he studied at Oxford under C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. Yet books couldn't hold him. He left academia and turned to acting. He began with the Shakespeare Memorial Company, performing small roles in Coriolanus and All's Well That Ends Well. His patience paid off. He became unforgettable in All Creatures Great and Small. Then came Sense and Sensibility in 1995 and Harry Potter, where he played Cornelius Fudge, the proud minister for magic. But even as fame returned, he stayed humble. Robert Hardy played Robert Cavendish in Midsomer Murders, 1999, when he was 74 years old. He died on August 3, 2017, at 91, after complications from a fall. His net worth was about $5 million. For those who knew him, Hardy was more than an actor. He was a survivor. John Nettles as DCY, Tom Barnaby. Have you ever wondered how one man could make murder feel calm? That was John Nettles as DCY, Tom Barnaby, the patient, intelligent detective who solved every mystery with empathy instead of ego. From 1997 onward, he was the steady heartbeat of Midsomer Murders. Nettles was born in 1943 in St. Austell, Cornwall. He was adopted as a baby by a carpenter and his wife. His birth mother, an Irish nurse, left him behind. That truth shaped him deeply. Later, that same sensitivity became his greatest gift on screen. Before success, Nettles struggled like any actor chasing a dream. After studying history and philosophy at the University of Southampton, he joined repertory theater and took small TV roles just to survive. In A Family at War, 1970 to 1972, he showed quiet intensity as Dr. Ian Mackenzie. Later came Enemy at the Door, 1978, and The Liverbirds. The pay was small, but every part built his strength. After a decade of fame, he returned to his first love, theater. He performed with the Royal Shakespeare Company in The Winter's Tale, Richard III, and The Merry Wives of Windsor. That discipline refined him, preparing him for the role that would define his legacy. But after 14 years, he stepped away, saying, "It's better to leave people wanting more." And he did. John Nettles played DCY Tom Barnaby in Midsomer Murders, 1997 to 2011, starting at 53 years old. In 2025, he is 81 and lives peacefully in Devon. His net worth is about $10 million. Today, he writes books and narrates historical documentaries. Jane Wymark as Joyce Barnaby. Jane Wymark brought warmth and balance to Midsomer Murders as Joyce Barnaby, the kind, steady wife who gave the series its heart. Her gentle humor and patience made every dark mystery feel a little lighter. She was the reason it felt human. But her real story began long before Midsomer. Born in London in 1952, Jane grew up in an artistic family. Her father, actor Patrick Wymark, filled her childhood with theater and imagination. When he died suddenly, she was just 17. The grief changed her. It gave her a quiet strength that would later define her career. Before finding stability, Jane worked endlessly on stage. She took small parts in plays, learning discipline from failure. Her big break came with Poldark in the 1970s, where she played Morwenna Chinaweth. Then came television, A Touch of Frost, Dangerfield, Lovejoy. Every role shaped her calm, grounded energy. When Midsomer Murders began in 1997, Jane finally found her place. She and John Nettles built a believable marriage on screen. Behind the camera, she was known for her warmth and intelligence, the kind of presence that made every set feel like home. Jane Wymark played Joyce Barnaby in Midsomer Murders, 1997, when she was 44 years old. As of 2025, she is 72 years old and focuses on writing and artistic mentorship, running the London Literary Salon. Her net worth is estimated at $3 million. Neil Dudgeon as DCI, John Barnaby. Neil Dudgeon took over Midsomer Murders with confidence and charm, playing DCY John Barnaby, the calm, witty cousin who carried on the legacy with fresh energy. His relaxed humor balanced the series after John Nettles' departure. He didn't replace the old Barnaby, he evolved him. Born in Doncaster in 1961, Neil came from modest beginnings. His parents were hard-working, not famous. There were no shortcuts, only persistence. School plays lit the spark, and by the time he reached the University of Bristol, he knew acting was his future. That decision became his salvation. He worked his way up from small parts in Casualty, Inspector Morse, and A Touch of Frost. Then came bigger projects, Piece of Cake, Life of Riley, and Roman's Empire. He built his reputation quietly, role by role, until Midsomer Murders called. In 2011, Neil stepped into the role of John Barnaby. Many doubted he could fill the space left by John Nettles, but he won audiences over with warmth and subtle humor. Under his lead, Midsomer Murders kept its charm and stayed one of Britain's most enduring detective dramas. Neil Dudgeon played DCY, John Barnaby in Midsomer Murders, 2011, when he was 50 years old. As of 2025, he is 64 years old, still starring in new episodes of the series. His net worth is estimated at $5 million. Fiona Dolman as Sarah Barnaby. Remember Fiona Dolman? She was an intelligent, compassionate wife of DCI John Barnaby. Fiona Dolman brought Sarah Barnaby the quiet strength and grace in Midsomer Murders. Her warmth balanced the show's cold crimes. But Fiona's path to that peace wasn't simple. She was born in 1970 in Findhorn, Scotland, into a middle-class family surrounded by calm and nature. Yet her dreams were louder than her hometown. Moving to London to act meant pressure, competition, and doubt. Before Midsomer, Fiona appeared in Ultraviolet and Heartbeat, building a steady reputation. Her breakout came with The Royal Today, but off-screen, life threw her another challenge: becoming a single mother. That period was heavy, but she faced it with grace, supported by family and her work. As her career grew, so did her empathy. Fiona used her voice for more than acting, becoming an ambassador for Hospice UK and Greenfingers charity. In 2019, she ran the London Marathon in memory of her father. Fiona Dolman played Sarah Barnaby in Midsomer Murders, 2011, when she was 41 years old. Today, she is 55 years old, still active in the series and continuing her charity work. Her net worth is about $3 million. Jason Hughes as D.S. Ben Jones. Jason Hughes gave Midsomer Murders one of its most beloved detectives, D.S. Ben Jones, the loyal, witty partner who stood beside both Tom and John Barnaby. His mix of humor and heart lightened the show's darkest stories. Beneath his easy charm, though, was an actor who had fought hard for every break. He was born in Porthcawl, Wales, in 1971, into a hard-working family. Life wasn't glamorous. His grandfather sold ice cream. His mother's family were policemen. Young Jason dreamed of sports, playing cricket and rugby until acting stole his heart. Encouraged by a teacher, he joined the National Youth Theatre of Wales, leading Michael Sheen to success. Still, success didn't arrive easily. He trained at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, sharing flats and meals with other struggling actors. His first breakthrough came in This Life, 1996, where he played Warren Jones, one of British TV's first positive portrayals of a gay man. It was brave, raw, and unforgettable. When Midsomer Murders came calling in 2005, it felt like fate. Jason brought humor, intensity, and heart to D.S. Ben Jones, appearing in over 50 episodes. Viewers saw his growth. But fate had its own way. He left the show in 2013, but he knew it was time to explore new stories. Jason Hughes played D.S. Ben Jones in Midsomer Murders, 2005, when he was 33 years old. Now, he is 53 years old, working in theater and television. His net worth is around $2.5 million. Laura Howard as Cully Barnaby. There's something unforgettable about Cully Barnaby. That spark of youth, that mix of curiosity and kindness that only Laura Howard could bring. She was the pulse of Midsomer Murders, the daughter who kept her father grounded even when the world around them was full of death and deceit. But behind that lively energy was a young actress fighting her own battles. Laura grew up in Chiswick, London, surrounded by creativity but weighed down by expectation. Acting came early, and with it, the pressure to succeed before even understanding what success meant. Her career began with small but steady steps. She charmed audiences in So Haunt Me and worked through shows like Casualty and Soldier. Each performance carried her further from the uncertain girl she once was. Then Midsomer Murders changed everything. Laura turned Cully into more than just the detective's daughter. She was the emotional link between family and crime, innocence and maturity. As the seasons passed, viewers watched her grow up, and somehow they grew up with her. But in 2011, she left the show. It was so bittersweet. Laura Howard played Cully Barnaby in Midsomer Murders, 1997, when she was 20 years old. Today, she is 48 years old, continuing her career in acting and voice work, including her recent role in Dune Prophecy, 2025. Her net worth is about $2 million. Nick Hendrix as D.S. Jamie Winter. You know that feeling when someone walks into a long-running show and instantly makes it feel new again? That was Nick Hendrix as D.S. Jamie Winter, confident, quick-witted, and impossible not to like. His arrival gave Midsomer Murders a new rhythm, one filled with humor and modern charm. Nick's story began in Ascot, Berkshire, where he grew up surrounded by comfort but driven by ambition. His dream wasn't handed to him. He built it piece by piece. At the University of Exeter, and later RADA, he learned discipline. The craft became his anchor. The early years were tough. He took whatever roles came: Black Mirror, The Crown, Call the Midwife. Each taught him something different about truth and restraint. His name wasn't famous yet, but directors remembered his focus, his quiet power. That patience paid off when Midsomer Murders came calling. Becoming the new detective wasn't easy. The show already had legends, but Nick didn't copy anyone. He reinvented the role. His Winter was loyal, intuitive, and effortlessly human. Over time, he became the heart of the next era, carrying Midsomer's legacy into a new decade without losing its soul. Nick Hendrix played D.S. Jamie Winter in Midsomer Murders, 2016, when he was 31 years old. As of 2025, he is 40 years old, still portraying the role while co-founding Driven, an automotive media company. He lives quietly with his wife, actress Jessica Ellerby, proving that charm, when paired with integrity, never goes out of style. His net worth is about $1.5 million. Daniel Casey as D.S. Gavin Troy. Ever notice how some characters make a show feel alive from the very first episode? That was D.S. Gavin Troy, quick-tempered, loyal, and just a little rough around the edges. Daniel Casey gave him a pulse that fans never forgot. Before Midsomer Murders, Daniel's life looked nothing like television glamour. Born in Stockton-on-Tees, he grew up in a working-class family. His father was a journalist, and his mother taught him resilience more than comfort. Acting wasn't the obvious path. It was a risk. But Daniel had something no one could teach: persistence. After studying English literature at Durham, he traded books for scripts. His first stage job was in a small touring play called Dead Fish. The pay was small, but the spark was huge. Slowly, his name began to circulate, not as a star, but as someone who showed up, worked hard, and delivered. That's how he landed Our Friends in the North, a stepping stone to what would become the defining role of his career. Then came Midsomer Murders. Daniel played Gavin Troy with a mix of frustration and loyalty that felt real, the rookie detective trying to keep up with a legend. His chemistry with John Nettles made viewers smile one minute and ache the next. When he finally left the show in 2003, it was because he wanted to grow. Still, fans never quite stopped asking for him. Daniel Casey played D.S. Gavin Troy in Midsomer Murders, 1997, when he was 25 years old. As of 2025, he is 52 years old, continuing to act on stage and television, most recently in Coronation Street and Cluedo Live. This year, he returns to Midsomer, not as the sidekick, but as Tom Barnaby himself in a new stage production. His net worth is about $2 million. Annette Badland as Dr. Fleur Perkins. You can't miss her. The sharp humor, the piercing stare, that voice that cuts through every autopsy scene with both wit and warmth. Annette Badland didn't just play Dr. Fleur Perkins. She owned her. She turned the pathologist into one of Midsomer Murders' most unforgettable characters. Annette's road to success was anything but easy. Born in post-war Birmingham, she grew up in a working-class home. Her parents knew hard labor. She dreamed of stage lights. Training at East 15 Acting School, she worked through exhaustion and rejection, driven by a belief that talent only counts when it endures. Theater became her first home. She worked under Ian McKellen's company, then the Royal Shakespeare Company. But her career exploded later through television. From Bergerac to Doctor Who to Outlander, she became the kind of actress audiences trusted, unpredictable, magnetic, and real. Her range could shift from comedy to tragedy in a single breath. By the time she joined Midsomer Murders, she was already a legend. As Dr. Fleur Perkins, she brought a bold, sardonic edge that revived the show's rhythm. Every scene she touched became brighter, funnier, sharper. It's no wonder fans call her the soul of modern Midsomer. Annette Badland played Dr. Fleur Perkins in Midsomer Murders, 2018, when she was 68 years old. Now, she is 74 years old, still active in film and television, appearing in Ted Lasso and lending her voice to several projects. Her net worth is about $3 million. Kirsty Dillon as WPC Gail Stevens. You remember Gail Stevens, don't you? The kind-hearted officer who brought a touch of warmth, and maybe a little spark, to Midsomer Murders. Kirsty Dillon made her more than a uniform. She made her human. There was courage in her eyes and a quiet grace behind every awkward smile. Kirsty's real story began far from fame. Born in Portsmouth, she grew up in an ordinary home, surrounded by people who worked hard but dreamed quietly. Acting wasn't a family tradition. It was her rebellion. She studied drama at Goldsmiths and trained at Weber Douglas Academy, but every audition was a test of faith. The industry didn't hand her chances. She had to carve them out one by one. Early on, she faced rejection, long stretches without work, and the kind of loneliness that only artists understand. But she refused to quit. She took every role she could, in Holby City, Casualty, The Bill, building her confidence piece by piece. When Peter Greenaway cast her in Spellbound, it was the first sign that her persistence was paying off. Then came Midsomer Murders, and everything changed. As WPC Gail Stevens, she brought warmth to the show's dark mysteries. Viewers loved her gentle humor, her chemistry with D.S. Ben Jones, and the way she made every scene feel lighter. Off-screen, she carried that same compassion into her real life, becoming an ambassador for the White Ribbon Campaign, fighting against violence toward women. Kirsty Dillon played WPC Gail Stevens in Midsomer Murders, 2007, when she was around 31 years old. As of 2025, she is 49 years old, still acting and actively supporting social causes. Her net worth is about $1 million. She continues to balance art and advocacy, proving that kindness, both on and off the screen, can be a kind of quiet power. They solved every mystery on screen. But life wrote its own. Whose journey shocked you the most? Comment your thoughts and subscribe for more untold stories like this. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Goodbye.